What's up guys, EPICJONTUAZON here, and we are back with the 1985 Toyota Supra. It's been a while since I installed the JW speaker headlights, and I did get that high beam issue fixed, which we'll go over in a second. But before we do that, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the maintenance that's been going on. I ended up changing all of the belts, and I'll show you the old belts. I had them save it. We changed the power steering belt, the serpentine belt, and the AC belt. Just because it's been 30-something plus years since the belts have ever been touched, other than, you know, extended for tension, but we had to change it just because of the dry rot, and I'll show you that in a second. And so here we have the original belts, and it looks like they are the original belts from back in 1985. So let's take a look at this. Let's start with the serpentine belt. All right, so here we have the old OEM serpentine belt, and let me flip this inside out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but look at all of those cracks. It's crazy that this belt has lasted so long, and that was a real culprit for all the squeaking just because this was slipping on the pulley. But yeah, this definitely needed to be changed. This is the serpentine belt again. So we changed that, the power steering, as well as the AC belt, and just look at that dry rot. It was only a matter of time before that ends up becoming an issue. So all three of those belts have been changed, which is really good, and I'll pop the hood to show you the new ones. Okay, so if we take a quick peek in there, you can see all brand new belts down there. So nice and clean and fresh. I didn't pick a certain brand in particular, I just went with whatever was in stock just because I wanted to get that dry rot out and make sure the belts were actually functioning. But the car definitely runs a lot quieter and a lot smoother now that I guess it gives me peace of mind knowing that the belts are actually good. So the next thing I want to talk about are the headlights, and obviously, as you just saw, the high beams finally work. And it was such an enlightening issue trying to figure out. I never knew about a positive ground before up until this issue, but we'll go into that in a second. But let me run through basically all the wiring, and then maybe it'll make more sense to you why they didn't work. Okay, so starting from the battery, you can see there's a red wire and a black wire that's going to the main harness. And there's a fuse here. Should something trip, it will not harm the battery or anything beyond that. Going to the headlights, if you could peek right down here, if I can get that in focus. Actually, let me get a flashlight. You can see right down in there are fuses. So there's two fuses. And essentially that's going to create our negative ground. With the OEM headlights, there is a positive ground. So essentially this is made for halogens. So it'd be a high power, a low power, and a positive ground. So what I assumed is it doesn't matter which terminal the power would go to, the headlight would work essentially the same high beam, low beam. It's just that the high beam would get more voltage than the low beam. Whereas with LED headlights, you need to have a specific current going to it and a negative ground. That way it knows which to switch to. So when we turn the headlight switch on, that's giving voltage to one terminal, and to switch it, we need to have the negative ground flop that relay to the opposite terminal. So that's why you need the relay here and a negative ground. Now, I'm not sure if that makes sense. It kind of makes sense to me, and I don't know if that's even correct, but it makes sense in my head why I need the harness. So essentially we have the relay, and then I have this cord here running to the opposite headlight, which basically gives power to both. So that way when I flip the switch from the interior, it works, and then when I flip the headlight switch, it switches the relay over to the high beam and gives more voltage to whatever the high beam activates. And so if you're interested in doing the same setup, I'll leave the harness in the description below so you guys can check that out. It was such an enlightening experience again, because I've never heard of a positive ground before working on the electrical setup of the headlights. So it's super cool to actually understand and get working. And I totally forgot to mention that I got new headlight protectors, which are super nice. Well, you guys have seen it in the beginning of the video when I opened it with it. But these were definitely rotted out, sitting in the sun for 30 years. So it's so nice to actually see a nice, clean black piece of trim on there. And should you guys be interested, I did get these off of Toyota's website from the parts store. So they do have them available. I don't know how many they have left or if they're gonna keep stocking them. But I'll leave the part numbers in the description below as well if you guys want to get a pair. Well, that's it for today's video. I will try to get some night shots of the high beams on the road so you guys can check it out. They're super bright. And if you can tell from my last video, the headlights low beams are night and day from halogens. But I'll try to get some night shots here and put them at the end of the video for you guys to check them out. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. Please hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
You